let's tackle this one. There's been a lot of talk recently about your tunes having too much timing causing knocks, supposedly on 93 files for B8 S4 cars. What y'all have to say in regards to this nonsense?
It's not. I mean, I wouldn't call it nonsense. If they're seeing a bunch of knock activity, that's something we obviously don't want to see. But it's also you have to factor in what the spread of cars is that are doing it versus how many we have out there, and whether if it's an isolated thing, if it's an overall tuning strategy thing. Those are things we have to weigh, and it's all in the numbers. I guess you gotta kind of take that into consideration when we're trying to figure out what the best path for a given vehicle or given setup is. So, we have multiple octanes available on the server, or multiple octane files available on the server. So, if we have a car that's performing differently, or just for whatever reason, with whatever configuration of parts and hardware and the health of whatever's in there, they may need to run a slightly lower octane tune from time to time, depending on what the logs look like, what the data looks like. I mean, we could go in and, tweak a file for some of these as well if we need to, but that would end up being ultimately probably what one step down in octane is generally anyway for a given tune. So it's like, you can either relabel a, tune that's got a few degrees pulled out, or have run the tune that's got a few degrees pulled out. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, the vast majority of the data we see is fine, and not something we are concerned with. If it was a overall trend, we will absolutely go in and look at the strategy and work on things. We always do. We revise things as needed. But I want to say that the general timing maps on 91, 93, and whatnot on B8s haven't changed in years.
Well, I was going to say that, one, we have complete control of the timing maps.
Yeah.
And all the tunes that we offer. There's no tune where we are limited in what we can do with timing. The B8S4 tune specifically is going on 10 years old now, and we have been...
And it's been refined and revised and updated a bunch of years.
I mean, I don't know. It would be absurd to think that we somehow have just been running too much timing in this tune for 8 years now and didn't realize it, or we're too dumb to know it or something. I mean, that's just the most absurd explanation, right? So, if someone is claiming, which there's a troll out there, very well known B8 troll, who is trying to make it sound like we just didn't know that there was too much timing and we haven't figured it out yet, and that's why it's possible that this one person felt like they had too much timing correction. That's just absurd. That's the least logical explanation to the problem. So, anyways, yeah, no.
So yeah, I mean,
we our timing is very highly optimized, but like Nate said, there are certain setups or conditions that could create some variance, which is why our ECU has full ability to correct for timing. Full factory safety features. We don't dumb it down at all.
Yeah, and you'll generally always see some activity on pump gas. I think I've seen a log where if you're seeing zero corrections all the time on a 91 or 93 file, that's usually either way too far the other way, or things are desensitized to the point where it's not picking up what would be normal activity. So there's a bunch of factors that come into play with what knock correction is and what knock correction is normal. So, I mean, yeah, you can run a stock motor. You'll see a bunch of corrections on a 91 file, or a 90. Well, so a stock tune's set up for 91 octane. You'll still see corrections on 91, 93, you name it. So some corrections are very normal. We do not like to see a lot of corrections, and we will tell you that in the logs. It's why we have so much data logging and so much resource available to all of our customers. We want to ensure things are running correctly. And, it's on the recommendation. We'll recommend, some diagnostic stuff typically to see if everything's healthy, if everything seems right, if it's just a outlier, we have to try different octane calibrations, or just ensure everything's healthy. If we're out of options, we'll absolutely, start going outside the box and setting things up that are, maybe a little more bespoke for a given situation. But generally, I don't think we've had a situation where we've had to do that in a very long time.
Yeah, if you have any concerns about your timing or your knock correction, please contact us.
Yeah, we have.
If you go to the internet and engage with the troll of our competitor, you're not going to get good advice. Okay,
And
you're going to be manipulated. They're going to try to manipulate you into thinking that there's something wrong with our tune or we did something wrong.
right.
And that's a competitive tactic that they like to take. That's not necessarily what we do out on the internet, but just be forewarned that those people do not have good intentions towards you. You are our customer, so we have extremely good intentions.
Yeah.
In fact, we've already gotten your money, and we will now support you for free for as long as you need it. Like, we're not going to make any money if you come to our support. In fact, we will only spend money supporting you. So, we have great intentions towards you, but these other people don't. And I just hope that that's obvious, but sometimes I don't think.
Yeah, it's a struggle. And then, we have by far the most available and accessible data collection tools of any provider in this market. So, I mean, we are not here to hide anything. We're not here to just sling you a file and run the other way. We stand behind it. We will, ensure things are running as optimally as possible for every situation. And, there's a bunch of ways for a given setup that resolution might be found, but we strive to make sure everything is running as best as possible on every situation. So.
Yeah, all right. I think that's
we're very data driven, so we're not going to just sit there and sling.
Yeah, our tune is exactly how it is for a reason, and then there are external factors as well. Some of the tuners, they just don't have good tunes, and so they have to customize every single tune they sell, and the customer flashes it to their car, and then they have to do logs and send them back to the tuner, and the tuner makes modifications to the tune until hopefully the customer is happy. Our tune is production. It's the best in the industry. It's off the shelf.
And and to that end too, usually those tweaks and customizations are done with fairly poor data, with rudimentary logging, with rudimentary data collection stuff.
Really slow logging that doesn't capture enough data.
There to date is not a solution on the market that captures as much or as quick data as we can.
That's right. But the trolls will say whatever they want. They'll try to make you question the reality.
Yeah. And of course, we want you to just flash a file and have it run perfectly every time. But
that is what happens. Like 98%.
The noise or the right. That's the vast majority. Or you're not going to hear about those cars. You're not going to hear about the guys that just flashed and had optimal setups. And particularly when you get into stage 2+ stuff where it's a myriad of pulley ratios and whatnot, things that gets trickier and trickier to account for every combination.